When a mother warns her son about the woman he loves, it's usually out of protection, but in Jim Jones' case, that warning may have been a prophecy. Long before the world saw the tension between Jim, Chrissy and Mama Jones explode on TV. There were whispers, private calls, secret conversations, and a message Mama Jones tried to deliver before things fell apart. And now, that message has resurfaced in this emotional unraveling. Chrissy Lampkin reportedly broke down after hearing what Mama Jones confessed a secret she held for over a decade. Sources close to the family say it wasn't just motherly jealousy. It was something darker, something connected to Jim's mental state, his career downfall, and the choices that led him to push Chrissy away. Because Mama Jones didn't just warn Jim. She told him something was coming, something that could destroy everything he'd built if he didn't listen. Tonight, we're diving deep into the emotional truth behind that secret message. What really went down between Chrissy and Mama Jones? Why Jim stayed silent all these years, and how one warning could have changed everything before it was too late. This is the story they never wanted you to hear. Before the cameras, before the fame, before the world knew their names, there was just Jim, Chrissy, and a mother trying to protect her son from something she couldn't explain. People who followed Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin for years think they've seen it all. The love, the breakups, the proposals, the reality TV chaos. But what most people don't know is that Mama Jones once sent Jim a message so personal, so chilling, that it haunted him for years. It wasn't just about Chrissy. It was about what came after. According to people close to the family, Mama Jones had a deep intuition that Jim was changing, that fame was surrounding him with energy that wasn't pure. She had always been protective, loud, opinionated. But this time, she wasn't talking as a mother. She was talking like someone who'd seen something coming. She reportedly told Jim, "Son, watch who's standing beside you. Not everyone holding your hand is praying for you." At the time, Jim brushed it off. He thought his mom was just being dramatic, jealous even, like the world painted her. But months later, everything started to unravel. Behind closed doors, Chrissy and Mama Jones were no longer speaking. Jim was torn, caught between the woman who raised him and the woman he wanted to build a future with. And yet, the warning from his mother never left his mind. Those who were around during that period say Jim became distant, less trusting, more cold. He started isolating himself from people he once called family. Studio sessions became shorter, appearances less frequent. Something inside him had shifted. And then came the call. It's said that sometime after one of their biggest public arguments, Mama Jones left Jim a voicemail, one she never expected the world to hear. In it, her tone wasn't angry. It was trembling. "Jimmy, I told you before. When the light starts to dim, don't blame the darkness. Blame the hands that covered it." Many believe this was the moment Jim finally realized that his mother's warning wasn't about jealousy at all. It was about a hidden truth that had been eating at their family for years. When Chrissy reportedly found out about that voicemail, sources claim she broke down. Not because of guilt, but because she felt like the family was cursed, trapped in a cycle of misunderstanding and pride. She once said in an old interview, "I was never trying to take Jim from his mother. I just wanted my own place in his world." But that world was already torn in two. Behind the glitz of love and hip-hop, behind the smiles and designer clothes, there were constant arguments about loyalty, money, and control. Jim's success had come at a price, and the people he loved most were paying it with him. Insiders say that after Mama Jones' message came out, Jim stopped answering calls for a while. He stayed quiet. No interviews, no posts, just silence. Friends said he was trying to process what his mother might have meant. Others believe he already knew, because not long after that, rumors started circulating that someone inside their circle had betrayed him, leaking personal details, private footage, and setting the stage for what would later become one of the darkest periods of Jim's public life. And when Chrissy found out, she reportedly said something that still echoes today. She tried to warn him, but now it's too late. That moment, that realization was when Chrissy Lampkin broke down. Not on camera, not for attention, but in private. Because she finally understood that the woman she thought hated her might have actually been trying to save them both. This wasn't just a mother-in-law drama anymore. It was spiritual, emotional, and painfully real. Jim's mother had seen what fame could do to love. She'd seen it twist relationships, ruin loyalty, and turn good people against each other. And now her son was walking the same dangerous path she feared most, for the first time in years. Jim Jones found himself asking, was my mother right all along? Sometimes, a source close to the family said, the real curse isn't the people around you, it's ignoring the ones who tried to protect you. And that's where everything changed. Because from that point forward, Jim's career, his relationship, and his peace would never be the same again. The voicemail wasn't just a mother's concern. It was a message layered with pain, prophecy, and truth. For years, people around Jim Jones have said that Mama Jones had a sixth sense. She could feel when energy shifted around her son. She could sense when something or someone was pulling him off course. After Jim went silent, Chrissy tried to hold things together. She thought maybe with time, everything would calm down. But Mama Jones' message didn't just haunt Jim, started haunting her. Those close to Chrissy said she would replay that voicemail in her head like an echo she couldn't escape. Each word, don't blame the darkness, blame the hands that covered it, felt heavier every time. And soon she began to realize what it really meant. This wasn't about their relationship drama. It was about who had been manipulating things from the inside. Rumors started swirling that someone in Jim's inner circle, a longtime associate, had been feeding false information to both women, turning mother against girlfriend, sowing tension for years. Why? To keep Jim distracted, vulnerable, and easy to control. Because the truth was, Jim Jones had become more than just a rapper. He was a brand, a name connected to money, endorsements, deals, and industry influence. And when a man like that gets distracted by personal chaos, others can move quietly behind the scenes. One insider revealed there were people who didn't want Jim at peace. The more his home life fell apart, the easier it was to control his career. Chrissy reportedly discovered that certain people had been lying to her, telling her Mama Jones said things she never actually said. And on the other side, they told Mama Jones that Chrissy was planning to cut her out of Jim's life completely. It was all manipulation designed to make them hate each other, and it worked. Years of love, trust, and connection turned into cold distance. But when that voicemail came out, everything made sense. Mama Jones wasn't warning Jim about Chrissy. She was warning him about the people around both of them. And when Chrissy realized that truth, she broke down completely. According to someone who was there, Chrissy was seen crying, saying she was trying to protect him, and we all thought she was the problem. That's when Jim finally confronted his mother. Not with anger, but with understanding. He reportedly told her, "Ma, I should have listened, but I didn't want to believe anyone close to me could do me dirty." For the first time in years, the two shared a private conversation. No cameras, no lights, no outsiders. Just mother and son. And from that talk, new truth came out. One that could explain the chaos surrounding Jim for more than a decade. Mama Jones told Jim that the day she left that voicemail, she had been contacted by someone she didn't trust, someone claiming to have information about Jim's business deals. But instead of passing the message on, she chose to warn her son spiritually. Because deep down, she knew what was coming wasn't just business trouble. It was betrayal wrapped in the faces of people who smiled in his presence every day. After that revelation, Jim reportedly began cutting people off quietly. Producers, handlers, old friends, even one longtime associate who'd been around since the early Dipset days. The energy around him shifted. He started to move differently. Meanwhile, Chrissy took a step back too. She focused on healing and reflecting. For the first time, she understood what Mama Jones had been trying to say all those years, that protecting Jim wasn't about control. It was about keeping him from being used. Still, the damage had already been done. Their public image had been built on chaos. Fans saw the shouting matches, the tension, the tears, but they never saw the trap behind it. Insiders close to the family claim that when Jim started talking differently about the industry, he began hinting in interviews that fame had a dark price, that people you trust the most could be the ones holding you back, and that sometimes the love you fight hardest to protect becomes the very thing others use against you. Mama Jones' warning, once dismissed as overprotective nagging, became a prophecy. And Jim's silence in recent years? That wasn't distance, it was self-preservation, a source revealed. Jim learned the hard way that sometimes the loudest voices in your life are the ones trying to keep you safe. Chrissy, on the other hand, reportedly wanted to rebuild. She wanted peace, not fame. She knew their story had been twisted, edited, turned into entertainment for millions. But behind the cameras, they were just people, broken, loyal, and tired. In one private conversation, Chrissy is said to have told a friend, "If I had understood what she meant earlier, I would have protected him too." And that's the tragedy in it all, that the people who loved Jim Jones the most ended up hurting each other because of lies planted by others. For the first time in years, Mama Jones, Jim, and Chrissy all had the same realization. They were never enemies. They were victims of a system designed to break strong families apart. A system that thrives when love turns into war. Because when a man loses trust in the women who love him, it becomes easy to control. And that's exactly what happened to Jim Jones. He wasn't just fighting for his career, he was fighting for his soul. The warning had come true. Everything Mama Jones feared had unfolded. But this time, Jim was finally listening as one. Close friends said Jim didn't lose his family. He just finally saw who was trying to tear it apart. And in that moment of painful clarity, one thing became clear to everyone. The truth had been buried for too long. And now it is finally coming out. When the truth finally surfaced, it didn't roar, it whispered. Not through gossip blogs or industry insiders, but through silence. Jim Jones went quiet. Chrissy stepped away. And for the first time in years, Mama Jones stopped defending herself. People thought the family had fallen apart for good. But what really happened was healing in private, away from the noise. Behind closed doors, the three of them had conversations that would never make it to reality TV. No producers, no staged arguments, no fake scenes. Just raw emotion. Three people realizing they had all been fighting the same enemy without knowing it. Mama Jones reportedly told them both, "I warned y'all not because I wanted control. I warned y'all because I saw what fame was doing to him." She had seen it before. How artists lose themselves chasing what the world calls success. The flashing lights, the fake friends, the business deals that start off clean and end with betrayal. She knew Jim was surrounded by people who wanted access, not loyalty. And in her way, she tried to pull him back before it was too late. But fame doesn't listen to family. It listens to applause. And back then, Jim was caught up in both. Between Dipset's success and his own solo rise. His world became crowded. Too many opinions, too many agendas, too many friends who didn't want to see him grounded. That's why when Mama Jones started warning him, it felt like noise. He thought she just couldn't understand his world anymore. But now, after everything that came out, the false stories, the manipulation, the staged drama, Jim finally saw that her warning wasn't jealousy, it was protection. Chrissy, too, had her moment of realization. In one emotional interview she never released, she reportedly said, "I spent so long defending our love in front of cameras that I stopped protecting it behind closed doors." That one line says everything. She was fighting the wrong battle. She was trying to prove her love to the public, not realizing that love doesn't need proof, it needs peace. As the truth spread among close friends, something began to change. Jim started appearing more grounded. His social circle grew smaller. People who used to be around him every day suddenly weren't seen anymore. The same industry that once fueled the fire around his family. It's gone silent. But silence can be power, because when people can't control your story anymore, they lose control over you. Around this time, whispers began that Jim had started recording new music, not the flashy kind, not the club anthems, but real, soul-heavy tracks about family, loyalty, and betrayal. People close to him said this new project was personal, something inspired by the pain, the truth, and the love he almost lost. And here's where it gets deeper. Mama Jones reportedly told one of her friends that she had kept another message, one she never sent. It was meant for both Jim and Chrissy. In that message, she talked about forgiveness, about how real families aren't destroyed by mistakes, only by pride. And when Jim found out about it, he told her to play it. It wasn't for the world. It was for healing. When that message played, Chrissy reportedly broke down again, this time not out of pain, but relief. For years, she had felt like an outsider in Jim's world. But now, hearing Mama Jones say you were never the enemy, broke the walls between them. The family finally found peace, not in perfection, but in understanding. Still outside the family, the story took on a life of its own. Blogs twisted the narrative, claiming Jim Jones reunites with Chrissy after Mama Jones' warning comes true. But what really happened was deeper. They didn't just reunite, they evolved. They stopped playing the game. No more chasing validation from an audience that didn't care about the truth. No more letting networks profit off their pain. For once, Jim was in control, not of his image, but of his peace. And yet, one mystery remained. Who was behind all those years of manipulation? Who had turned family love into public chaos? Some insiders believe it was someone within the label, a person who saw Jim's rise as a threat and wanted to divide his focus. Others say it was someone close to a rival artist who knew how powerful Dipset unity could have been. But the real answer may never be known because the damage had already been done. What mattered most now was that Jim finally understood his mother's warning. She wasn't predicting doom, she was preparing him for truth, in a rare family moment caught off camera. Jim reportedly said to both women, maybe all this had to happen, so we'd finally listen to each other. And in that moment, something shifted. The family that the world thought was broken found its strength again, today. When fans see Jim Jones, they still see the tough rapper, the Harlem hustler, the street legend. But behind that image is a man who's learned what loyalty really means and how easily it can be destroyed when love turns into entertainment. Mama Jones still stands by her son, protective as ever. Chrissy, wiser and calmer, focuses on building her own life. And Jim, he's learned that sometimes the loudest battles happen in silence, not against enemies on the streets, but against the people who pretend to protect you. This wasn't just a family feud. It was a lesson that not all warnings are meant to stop you. Some are meant to save you. And if Jim Jones has learned one thing through all this chaos, it's that when your mother says she feels something coming, you better believe her. Because the woman who raised you in pain can often see storms before they arrive. Mama Jones wasn't wrong, a close friend said. She just spoke the truth before anyone was ready to hear it. Now the truth is out, and for the first time in years, the Jones family stands on the same side. No longer divided by drama, but united by understanding. And as the industry watches quietly. One thing's for sure, this story isn't just about warnings and breakdowns. It's about redemption. And now that the truth is finally coming out, the question still remains, what else did Mama Jones see coming? Because if her first warning was this powerful, imagine what she's holding back now. The story isn't finished, not even close. There are still messages that never got released, conversations that never made it to camera, and people inside Jim's old circle who are finally ready to talk. So stay locked in because the next chapter is about to expose the part of the story that no one dared to touch. If you've been rocking with Jim Jones since day one, if you believe in truth over gossip, then hit that subscribe, drop a comment, and tell me what you think really happened behind those walls. Was it love? Was it loyalty? Or was it the industry playing puppet master again? One thing's for sure, this family's story is far from over. The next video is going to change everything.